So, after I solved my electrical woes, my chicks are sounding much more normal. Oh, and they're out and about. So, you must be warm, huh? Hey, little guys. Well, that's 5 of them. Oh, there's 6. I have no doubt that 7 and 8 are under there. Oh, there's 7. So, it does look like, it almost looks like this one's bald on the top, but it's actually just white. Fuzz, it looks like. He gets me every time. Those are really cute little buggers. So it's 40 outside in the shelter. In here it's definitely warmer, probably 20 degrees. It's fairly well sealed, really, for being just kind of basically screwed together, and not even screwed together on the top, really. But I tell you what, this thing works. It got below freezing out here last night, and there is no other form of heat for these guys, just being in a fairly tight-fitting box. Actually, the door, to completely close it, if you don't weigh as much as I do, takes a hammer. So it's very tight-fitting. And these guys, they made it through the night. Oh, yep, there's all 8. 4 and 4. You learn to count in pairs and groups whenever you have animals, I've found. They're eating like crazy. I'm pretty sure I haven't filled this up since I put them out there, and nor have I filled that up. So that's about what they've eaten in about a week. You guys stay back from the edge. So, the pine shavings make a huge difference, I'm sure. I don't have any holes for the tray yet. I haven't cut the back out, and I probably won't while it stays this cold and they stay this small. The follow-on plan hasn't really materialized yet, though, so we will see. Hey, you. I hear you. I really do think that I probably should... Hey, okay, you guys are getting really close to the edge. I might have to close this up. They're getting kind of curious now that they're warmed up and well fed and able to get out and get food and water without freezing by their lonesome. And as you can see, they don't mind that the water is probably 40 degrees. I'd like to put a heat lamp on them. I really would, and I have one right there, and I think I've got a spare light. It's just they make me nervous. Pine shavings, flammable little fluff birds, and a heat lamp. It doesn't seem like a good plan together. I had kind of thought that maybe our winter was over, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. Next week it will be 70 again, so it probably doesn't bear pointing any more heat at them. And the birds that we do have, they have 2 shelters now. Well, 3 if you count the goats shed as well. But they're still preferring the trees, so I have to really secure the shed. So we will see how that all works. But these guys are much happier sounding, although they are getting way too close to the edge, especially while they're not paying attention like babies do. But as you can see, that's a fairly tight-fitting connection, which kind of upset me when I initially did it, but I think I'm good now. The fact that it's not ultra-tight, whenever I was thinking about it, made a lot of sense, but now that it's just about as cold as can be, it's maybe not such a bad idea. And, of course, the lawn's kind of wet and nasty, but the ducks just don't care. The chickens, on the other hand, they'll stay up here where it's dry and a little bit sheltered along the concrete here. The muscovies, they're kind of weird. They're waterfowl, so they're a lot like ducks, but they're from a tropical location, so they I guess they kind of can do both. They can freeze and be totally at home being wet. So they're out here on the lawn, but they're kind of sheltering up or fluffing down. And the geese, of course, it doesn't matter. They're so well insulated. They just do not. In fact, I don't even think I've ever seen Tom and Scarlet seek shelter other than just to be around other birds. But the gravel is absolutely working. This is really fantastic. Of course, my chickens are digging at it up here, I see. Yeah, I actually got some grass growing too. That must be what they were aiming for here. That's kind of impressive. Not all of this is dug down very, very, very deep. Mostly along the concrete I was able to get down, which is fine by me because that's where I definitely don't want mud. But there's bedrock up in here, and then I wasn't able to scrape down with a hoe bucket over here. But all that might be changing. I was trying to justify the Woods BH85 for my tractor here, and as you may know, if you have particularly a newer tractor, you're going to get things like my tractor here. It's a 2038R, obviously. I usually put that in the description. And the last two numbers indicate how many horsepower it has. 38 horse, so very close to 40 horse. But it's a 2,400 pound tractor before I believe you start putting fluids and loaders and, obviously stuff that I purchased separately, but I don't even think the loader is actually considered in that 2,400 pounds. And then of course I put water weight in the tires. So that's actually pretty light for a tractor. My uncle has sent me pictures of his tractor, which has a bit less horsepower than mine, but it's probably twice the tractor. The back tires alone, which don't look comical on it, they look about like these do, probably come all the way up to my lights. And so it's a lot more tractor, but it's got less horsepower. So, when you hear people online say, well, horsepower isn't a good description of tractor size, they especially mean it. In fact, it's almost like nowadays the converse is true. If you have a larger, older tractor, it's going to be 6,000 pounds and 30 horse. And then I've got mine, and it's half that, and it's 2/3 the more horsepower. It's or 1/3 more horsepower. Wow. Well, I don't have to do math classes anymore. I'm actually done with Cal 2 and analysis of computer algorithms. So when I looked at it, and when I was looking up online, Woods goes ahead and throws their requirements and horsepower, and they say, well, if you're I want to say it was 20 to 40 horsepower for the BH75, which is the model just directly down from the one I was looking at. That's where you would want to be, and then 30 to 100 is for the BH85. And I was like, well, I'm quite securely in that horsepower, but I do realize, and I get reminded every time I talk to people on Tractor by Net or anything, horsepower is a terrible way to describe the size of your tractor, even if I say so myself in the post. It's just terrible. I think, really, honestly, people should just say the weight of your tractor should be this. I don't know why we have to get wrapped up in horsepower, because that's pretty consistent across times and manufacturers. But to kind of circle around, I was directed to maybe put the money I was considering spending and had kind of isolated out into the budget that I was going to spend on the Woods backhoe into a Mini X. Well, you go on Equipment Trader and you go, well, I don't want too much of equipment, because if this thing starts turning into a auction lot or a tool rental lot, my wife will poison me in my sleep or in my food, whatever. I don't know how that works, I guess. Especially if I go wasting money on things that end up being very, very weird looking lawn art because I bought a tractor that had so much play in the turntable that the crap, what was it? Basically the giant gear that goes underneath the Mini X to make it spin. You can get damage to that by, thinking that greasing is optional and pushing weight with that, which you're not supposed to do. And then you get things like you find on Equipment Trader. I found a GHL that was probably appropriately sized to what I wanted, but it had so much play in there that it looked like it wanted to throw the house down, which is I guess the cabin. I mean, it was feet. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. That thing probably needs more dollars in repairs than it's worth. And, it's a piece for a tractor that's as old as my daughter that's getting ready to go to college. And holy cow, I'm not going to spend $10,000, $15,000 fixing a tractor that's almost old enough to vote. I've got better things to spend my money on. And I was able to find, outside of those things, a dealer that refurbished foreign tractors and imported them into the United States. And lo and behold, some of their offerings are what I was considering spending on a backhoe. Now, granted, I did want to finance some of the backhoe, about half of it or less. But, and these refurbs are not new. They're on the older side, and but they look really nice, and they've been professionally done. They don't have tons of play in the pins and bushings. They don't have the aforementioned issues with turntables. They actually run really nice. They're not pretty. When you open up the engine compartment necessarily, the dials and gauges look kind of bad. They've got 1 or 2 or 3,000 hours on them, which is actually nothing, I found out. Most of the ones I found on Equipment Trader in that time, or that time frame, for 14 grand to maybe 17 grand, have like 5,000 to 7,000 hours on them. Like, no, I don't think so, man. If it's got more hours in life than I do in college, it's a piece of equipment. I'm not comfortable with that, especially when it's very apparent to somebody that doesn't know anything about these things that it's got issues. So I think I might be considering a Mini X. I tend towards getting way more than I'm supposed to, and then I usually get reeled in to reality by my lovely wife, but she's kind of being supportive of this, and if a little apprehensive, which I would hope she would be. That's kind of what makes us a good partnership. But the ability for a 7,000 pound piece of equipment to grab, because every single one of the the Mini X's I was looking at have a thumb. The ability for them to grab and yank some of these rocks out is probably significantly greater than what I'm looking at with my tractor. I was thinking, well, I'll get a backhoe. Well, backhoes are insane, and I can't actually get the one that I want. And then I was like, well, how about maybe a grapple. And I was looking at the grapple and I was like, man, I already have a lot of the pieces for this thing that I need, and I still need to spend $3,000. Holy crap. Well, how about less than a used car into a piece of equipment that's gonna do everything that my tractor currently doesn't, and everything that I'm talking about wanting to do? Well, you know, the caveat and the catch is that if I bring a serious piece of light construction equipment onto the property, I'm gonna have to feel obligated to use it, and I will almost certainly use it for the forces of evil. And maybe also rent my services out, not rent the piece of equipment. I'm not gonna let anybody touch it. But yeah, you know, moving that rock like this one right here. This is, I'm calling it officially, by my reckoning, the heaviest rock. It's actually not even, it's not the biggest, it's not the tallest, it's not the widest. In fact, I don't even think it's got the most volume. But this thing right here was definitely the heaviest, according to my tractor. I'm wondering if it's got a giant gold nugget in it. I could really get a nice Mini X if it was. But maybe we'll get the Mini X and pick this thing up and drop it on the other rocks that I haven't been able to dig out. And if it breaks open and there's a diamond in it the size of my head, I'll take all my subscribers out to dinner. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm getting buddies. Well, I'm pretty cold and you guys just got out here, so I guess we're probably not gonna play. I can barely feel my thumb. It is cold out here. That's a good note to end on. How you doing, buddy? So I got a fur coat. I do not care.